culinary hotline bling.
Ting, ting, ting.
Now, on to a real feel-good story. Now, out of the public eye for a while now, Woolworths have been working very hard in protecting our country's water source. And they've been working specifically with farm areas at risk of drought. And they've been working with the smallest communities as well, applying back in a really big way to protect the water at its source, and that is where rainfall is captured.
And it's very important, and our very own Katlego recently visited the farming region of Ceres to take a look at the lessons learned and, of course, the way they're mapping the way forward.
It's estimated that nearly 7% of South Africa's scarce water resources are taken up by alien plants. And this was a key risk factor that was identified by the Woolworths Water Stewardship Program and partnership with WWF South Africa in the farming community of Ceres. Now, this is a very exciting initiative and really allows everyone to be involved in the management of our water resources. It's also very important because it shows how partners can get together to really tackle a big challenge, which is the protection of our water resources, not just for the immediate, but for future generations too.
Woolworths environmental specialist Kirsten Sims works on the front line of these water conservation programs.
Kirsten, we know that farming communities are literally the breadbasket of our nation and we depend on them. Tell me about how Woolworths came to realizing the need for this program in a farming community like Ceres.
Water is a really important part of our good business journey and something that we feel really passionately about. So it was a number of years ago now that we started to look into what water risk actually meant for our business. And it was here in Ceres that we identified as being one of the most at-risk and vulnerable areas in the whole country. Also in particular in the face of climate change, which is expected to lead to more drying in the future. We also buy a lot of our fresh fruit and vegetables from this area, and it's an important area in terms of the local economy from agriculture and tourism. This catchment area in particular is one of South Africa's very important water source areas, which means that we knew if we got involved here, it would not only impact the local community, but also many other users downstream from here.
Claudia, we've spoken to our friends at Woolies before about the water stewardship program, but let's focus a little bit on this particular area, Ceres, and how the program works here.
We've actually been active in the area as WWF since 2014, and there were a multitude of retailers, including Woolworths, that were interested in water risk around the fruit areas where they're sourcing their fruit from, and they decided to be quite proactive about it and to ensure that the areas where they're sourcing their fruit are actually more resilient towards any water risk or any droughts or any flood events like that. And we started a water stewardship program as a result of that, and it involved multiple partners, some retailers, some other funders as well, and WWF and a lot of the farmers. And we typically look at problems that are bigger than beyond the farm fence issues. So we typically looked at those kinds of issues and built our water stewardship program around that. And today particularly we hear around the alien clearing success story.
Now, the success behind this has been the partnership between WWF South Africa, Woolworths, and of course the local Water Users Association. A powerful combination indeed. How important do you think it is to continue having these kinds of partnerships?
It is really astounding to have such a strong relationship. Another partner that needs to be in that mix as well is the Department of Agriculture Land Care, who's a very important co-partner in the setup, and having a lot of trust amongst each other and having the same goal to work towards, and everybody plays their particular role in getting the larger goal achieved.
To maintain a steady, clean supply of water in fruit and vegetable production, Woolworths joins forces with farmers like Stephen Versveld.
Stephen, tell me a bit more about your journey with water on the farm and how you became so aware that the alien vegetation was posing such a big threat to the water resources.
My dad and I have been busy with it for more than 30 years. When I started farming, he was already removing alien vegetation. And I think as climate change has come and there's been less and less water in the river, one's become more aware of the fact of how much water aliens are removing and that there's benefit in spending money to remove it.
Now, the stream we're hearing around here is the result of a massive team effort, a lot of work that went in. Tell me about that and what effect that's had on your operations.
This piece here was cleared by mostly with the help of the Department of Land Care. Where we're standing now is just solid mat of Port Jackson, black wattle, pine trees. You couldn't see through here, let alone walk through here. It's phenomenal to see this place cleared out, and if you look at the water running below us, 2 years ago there wouldn't have been a drop.
You've achieved extraordinary numbers, some 425 hectares being cleared out every single year, releasing more than 70 million litres of fresh water back into the system. How do you achieve such incredible numbers?
Well, I think a large part of the success has been down to the sheer scale of the clearing that's actually happening. So those plants, the invasive plants, are 6 times thirstier than the natural vegetation. So just by taking out plants at scale, that's resulting in huge volumes of water going back into the natural environment.
Reino Pinar is the alien clearing project manager for the area, spearheading an incredibly effective collaboration.
I understand that you also have quite a big role to play. In fact, you have a big hand in this because there's something called the Reino model. What exactly is it and how has it proven so successful?
I think it's just because of the leverage. It's not really me or my personality as such, it's the power of the position. Being the link between the funding and the farmers and being the voice between those two things. And it's created leverage where in the 2 years that I've been here, 10 million rand has been generated to do alien clearing work. And that's food on the table, that's water released in the river, and that's all just because of one position.
Of course, looking at unemployment statistics throughout South Africa, but especially in small communities like Woolsley, right near where we are. So how has this benefited the community?
In general, in the Upper Breede Valley, the work is seasonal because for the most part it's on fruit farms. So there's a picking season where there's a high load of work, a decent load of work, and then in the off-season, most of the workers are despondent and they don't know where to go. So the alien clearing projects give them the opportunity to be employed right throughout the year.
So our people, they can't write or read, but this is a job that they can do. And as there is so little work in Tulbagh, mostly there's only a few shops in our little town, is something great for me to accommodate all our cultures. We work here together as a family.
Having an alien clearing program that works around the clock offers jobs at a permanent basis for people. There's over 100 people employed in this clearing program on its own, so that puts food on the table for 100 families.
What we're doing today and investing today is really going to result in a much better future for all of us.
Without collaboration, we'll never get anywhere. So what we've been able to achieve with the help of Woolworths, Department of Land Care, World Wildlife Fund, quite frankly, has been phenomenal. I never dreamed we'd get this far in such a short space of time.
I really hope that the story carries out to other farming organizations and that the model is repeated and that there's also an emphasis placed on education of the youth to show them what it's all about.
I think people should understand the value of water source areas and should value the fact that water doesn't come from a tap.
It's a very well-known fact, but perhaps not emphasized enough, that water doesn't come from a tap, a bottle, or a dam. And we need to ensure that it's not unnecessarily lost through catchment areas or perhaps even inefficient business practices. And after what we witnessed today, the hard work that goes in and day out in preserving this most precious resource, we can only but champion causes like these that help us not only to enjoy water in the present time, but to keep it flowing for future generations.